Okay, so we're going to start by talking about the six different types of procrastinators. And I'm going to show you this via bugs because I like to say this is your brain kind of bugging out. And the fact of the matter is that each of these types of procrastination is a form of emotional dysregulation. So we're going to start with the perfectionist bug. So the perfectionist bug basically delays because of a fear of not meeting extremely high standards. And they are the ones who are making these extremely high standards, right? They are the ones who want everything done perfectly. So for this one, I'm going to do a little ant because they are also the ones that sort of work themselves into the state of like overwork to the point that it's just like they're no longer comfortable, which also can lead to, and by the way, you can be multiple types of this at the same time. Like it's not just like you're either one or the other at one point in time, or even just one or the other, like always. Like you can be these things separately, but you can also fall into these patterns as like concurrently being at the same time, right? So the perfectionist has a tendency to create these extremely high standards for themselves, and that also means that they have a tendency to overestimate how long something is going to take. So we'll talk about this type in a different video because there's some other ones that we want to kind of focus on. The dreamer has grand ideas, but basically can't quite like achieve a plan, right? So this would be the kiddo that's like, I want to write an essay, but the essay that I want to write about is about this obscure topic, and that means that I need to be able to do all of this background stuff, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get I don't know how to do the research project. I don't know how to start the actual work of it, but man, I sure do enjoy planning this, right? So kind of like always up in the clouds, like is super excited about whatever thing that wants to get done, but the actual doing of the thing is not very practical for them. Okay. And we'll also talk about that in a different one, although we will hit on this one a little bit today. So we're going to mainly focus on the rest of these. So the worrier basically doesn't want to do the thing largely because they are resisting the risk taking. So this was definitely me when I was in school. And for this one, I'm going to draw a spider, but I'm going to do one of those trapdoor spiders. So here's my little Spidey. All right. And so this particular procrastination style basically resists doing anything largely because they don't want to be the one that fails, right? So when it came to doing math homework, I would resist it constantly, largely because I had this fear of failure. And so I would avoid it and avoid it and avoid it and avoid it and pretend that it didn't exist, right? So I would hide in my little hidey hole. Okay. So that's my little trapdoor spider in my hidey hole. And then, and the worrier, by the way, like this one will oftentimes manifest into these other ones as well. The defier, and we're going to talk about that because sometimes the defier is you, and sometimes the defier is your brain. And if you're like, wait, I thought I was my brain, remember the goal of us is to separate ourselves from our brain. So we get mad at, or our brain gets mad, we get mad at a deadline that's imposed by someone else or a requirement that's imposed by someone else. And so that anger ends up kind of like becoming a reasoning for us not doing the thing. So for this one, I'm going to do a hornet. It's not a very good hornet, but it's okay. So here is my hornet. This isn't like anything like a hornet, but that's all right. Humor helps us get through stuff, right? Um, and this also means that sometimes for us, we might lash out at other people, right? We might say, I never wanted to do this, and therefore, I don't, I'm mad at you for making me do this. You always want me to do things your way, or I always have to do stuff that I don't want to do. And so like we might lash out at other people, you know, or sometimes we lash out at ourselves, right? And so that can make things really difficult, especially for if you're dealing with this with your own brain. This is where a lot of that sort of like self-hatred comes in, and we're sort of like yelling at ourselves and going, I don't want to do this, I don't like this, but I have to, and society makes me, and rah, 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 right? So this can be really destructive. So we have to be careful with this one. Um, and then the crisis maker. So this is deadline mode, and we'll get into this one. Basically, they create a state of stress, usually by waiting until the very last minute, right? So we start here, and then here eventually becomes here. So they create a state of stress, and that state of stress creates enough pressure for them to get the thing done. So for this one, I'm going to do a lightning bug. And no, this is not what a lightning bug actually looks like, but I've been drawing this little guy all week, and I really just kind of like him. And so here is my version of a lightning bug. And he's got his own little light, but he also is attracted to, and we'll talk about this in a minute, light itself. So this is where I work best under pressure. So I'm going to purposefully wait until the very last minute to get the thing done, right? I'm going to wait to get the thing done, and that's going to make it so that I can finally finish the thing, and then I'll actually get it done. I call that deadline mode, right? And I'll show you something in a second that will explain it better. And then the overdoer, basically, this is kind of similar to this, right? But this is the one who basically says, I like being a crisis maker. I like the pressure. And so, because I like the pressure, I am going to give myself so much to do that I literally don't have room to breathe, right? And so, I can't prioritize because everything feels important. Everything feels heavy. Everything feels like it's all at the same time. I have to get it done now, probably because I've taken on too much, right? And this is especially true when we get into high school, college, adulthood. These are the I've been doing too much and I know it, but I can't not run hot, right? So for this one, I'm going to draw a little beetle because beetles are very strong and they have a tendency to carry things. So here's my little beetle. Okay. So those are the six different I just realized I stopped like doing my little arrows. Those are the six different types of procrastination. And we are largely going to focus on in the next video these last four. Okay. We'll get into these other ones in a bit, but these last four are the ones that we're really going to focus on. And I know that I have them separated here, but they can overlap. And part of the reason that I separate them is that I think it's important for us to recognize the patterns that our brains can fall into, and these are different pattern types. So let's go ahead and talk about what these look like and what to do about them.